Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the always online multiplayer gaming podcast brought to you by mmorpg.com, your home for all things multiplayer related. I'm your host, as always, Mike Byrne, aka magicman, and this is episode 516. It's Friday. That means over here on twitch.tv/mmobomb, we're doing the show live a little bit early, just a few minutes. Normally 1 p.m. Eastern. We're doing it a few minutes early because I got a conference call after this stupid thing. You know, whatever. But we're going to talk about all kinds of fun gaming stuff and some maybe not fun gaming stuff. We'll get into it all. If you're watching on YouTube, listening on Audible, Spotify, all those platforms, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Give it a like, a subscribe, a thumbs up. Turn on those notifications, all that good stuff that feeds the algorithms. But if you like what we do, most importantly, tell a friend and stop on by. We've got chat hanging out, ready to give their opinions as we go. Joining me to go through all the news today, Ms. Quinlan Bowers. What's up, Q?
It's Doctor Who Day.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. Why is it Doctor Who Day, not being a Whovian myself?
It's the first episode of the new first season is coming out today.
Oh, okay. So it's not like an annual, like, May the 4th be with you type thing.
No, that's November 23rd.
And what is that?
That's the anniversary date of Doctor Who.
Oh, like as a series.
Which hilariously is also the anniversary date of World of Warcraft.
Interesting. Well, I mean, there is no BlizzCon this year, so we apparently don't celebrate 20th and 30th anniversaries here for Warcraft. Also on the line, Mr. Troy Blackburn. I don't know how it was in Q's neck of the woods, but Troy and I have had a fun week weather-wise in our necks of the woods. Early this week, I got a tornado in Pittsburgh, and then I think it was Wednesday, I get a message. I had only assigned him like one or two of his daily pieces. I hadn't fully booked him yet, and I just get a quick message that's like, hey, yeah, really bad storms here. I have no power. We're going into mom's basement. And I was like, yeah, okay, fine. No, just stay safe and do these later. No biggie.
We did end up with a confirmed tornado, so it did get nasty.
We get our tornadoes apparently like at 1:30 in the morning.
That was ours too. Yeah, I was in bed, and I was like, the storms were going on. There's just crazy lightning that I could see through the windows and thunder and all that fun stuff. And that doesn't bother me. Like, I love that sound, and I could sleep for days with that stuff. But then we wake up the next morning and they were like, yeah, tornadoes hit. And that's a kind of a rare-ish occurrence here in Pittsburgh. We don't really get tornadoes all that often. And
yeah, see, it's a regular occurrence here. We literally, so the college, I used to scare the crap out of Gary back in the day because my apartment at the time was close enough to the college, and there's an air raid siren on the college campus that is now used as a tornado siren. Every Wednesday at noon, it goes off right? Because that's when you test it. I don't know what's going to happen if we ever actually get a tornado.
If you get one Wednesday at noon, you're doomed.
Like, we're just dead anyway, whatever. But so, like, it's that regular of an occurrence for us. But like the other night, it was like, because your phones basically insist on not letting you turn that stuff off now. Like, you can turn off things like Amber Alerts and stuff, but it's like, now you're getting the weather ones. And it like, it's right next to my head, and the fucking just went off. And I was just like, it's 1:30 in the morning, and I was just like, well, if I die, I die. What the heck?
Chirac saying storms like to play chicken with our town, loves to dive north or south of the town at the last minute. I mean, we get nasty storms here in the Northeast, but typically not tornadoes. So it's a rarish occurrence for us. Troy, obviously, being a little further south, yeah, and Q as well. A little more normal for the two of you. Well, I shouldn't say normal, but a little more expected.
Not the most rare thing for us.
Right.
It's pretty normal. And then when the hurricane season starts up, what you get further north of where the hurricanes land is spin-off tornadoes.
Yep. Yeah. And then in my area, when those hurricane seasons, hitting the southeastern part of the U.S., I just get really, really bad storms 5 days later. Like, that's typically what happens up here. Yeah, enough of your weather recap here in the eastern seaboard of the United States. Wherever you are, stay safe, of course, and listen to a podcast. Let's start some news. let's just start with what the hell is going on in gaming. Like, just WTF when it comes to 2024. I mean, it's just obviously been the year of layoffs. The year started that way. It has continued that way. Mass layoffs, mass studio closures, mass project cancellations all over the board. But this week, we had some initial news that was kind of like, well, yeah, I'm actually amazed that this announcement hasn't come out earlier. But then when I wrote it up, and as it was happening, and when I was digging into it in real time, I was like, oh, this isn't just this thing. This is a lot more. Wow, what is going on? So I'm showing some B-roll for Redfall, my personal probably biggest disappointment of the last year. I was very, very much, and I know Troy, you were too, maybe not as much as I am because I'm vampire guy and you're Viking guy, but we were both looking forward to this. And obviously, critically, it just didn't do well. It didn't launch with all the features that it had intended to. It had been a year, right? It came out last May. The anniversary came and went. The new heroes still weren't added. That was part of the pre-sale of like the enhanced hero pass editions. So yeah, it's been absolutely just silent on the Redfall front, besides a Twitter account that kept randomly tweeting images of the game with a little sentence, but then would ignore any question about, hey, I got the hero pass, where are my damn heroes? As it turns out, this week, Redfall is headed into maintenance mode. The servers will stay on for a while. There is no shutdown date for the servers themselves. I wouldn't hold up hope that those servers would be on very long, so get your Redfall in if you really want to. There is not going to be any more change or updates to the game. So if you bought those hero passes or whatever, forget it. There is going to be a credit system where they will reimburse you. Now, at the time of the writing, that stuff hadn't been fleshed out. Like, you didn't know exactly what you were getting. Was it going to be a refund cash-wise? Was it going to be some type of Bethesda store credit? Like, what was it going to be? Yeah, I'm here to tell you it still has not been identified. On the Redfall credit page on Bethesda, it says, our official statement regarding Redfall can be found here. It's a link to a text image. We're working to finalize details for the Redfall credit program. Subscribe to this article to be notified. But that was part of larger changes inside Microsoft, mainly under the Zenimax Bethesda umbrella there, where Tango Gameworks, Troy, the creator of HiFi Rush, closed. Arcane Austin, Redfall, closed. Now, Arcane Leon will stay open. Alpha Dog closed. And then some other teams were absorbed from studios over to ZeniMax, likely to be involved in Elder Scrolls Online projects or their next MMO, which we still don't have a lot of information on. It was just, hey, boom. And what's worse, Troy, is that everything seems to indicate these teams didn't even know it was going to happen. In the Steam logs, you can see, the dev logs, you can see that there were updates being made to Redfall by the team as close as 5 hours before the news broke that the studio was going to be closing. There were actual update changes being made. What they were, we don't know. The team was reportedly looking on making an offline mode, obviously the hero editions and stuff, so we don't know exactly what was maybe being pushed, but that was totally scrapped, which means the teams didn't even know about this.
Which unfortunately is not super surprising, I guess, given the way that the video game industry has been treating employees here lately and developers and staff in general, that they're just letting them go willy-nilly. Like, everybody's just laying off everybody, closing studios without notice. Just be like, hey, guess what? You're out of a job and the studio no longer exists. So, the Arcane Austin, at least Arcane Leon is still going. So, we still got some single-player narrative games, hopefully, to look forward to. Please quit forcing these studios to do things they're not good at doing, or they're not experienced doing. And, let's move forward and unfortunately, a lot of people lost their jobs. Some of them surprising, some of them not so much. The Arcane Austin thing, I guess, isn't really the most shocking thing in the world. It's unfortunate that it came with no notice and kind of out of nowhere. But at the end of the day, are we really all that surprised?
Yeah, Mazdoc's finally able to make it to a live show. Thanks so much. We appreciate it. And chat kind of already talking about somewhere where I want to take this, Q. HiFi Rush, fantastic game. Absolutely love the game. Creative, beautiful, a lot of fun. I'm into rhythm games. I'm okay with shooters. That game was just awesome for me. But I didn't pay a dime for it, right? I got it via Game Pass. As many did, I'm sure. As many did. And while they've celebrated big milestones as far as player numbers go, there is the argument that, hey, many people didn't buy it because it was given to them on Game Pass, on Xbox Game Pass platform. Now, what's weird is that Arcane Austin was getting ready to pitch, apparently, a immersive simulation game. Troy, to your point, right in their wheelhouse. Let's go back and do something that we've done before, that we're good at, that we're known for. HiFi Rush at Tango, they were getting ready to pitch HiFi Rush 2. But those are pitches. And we talked about this, Q, like maybe a week or two ago, that you have to be able to weather those periods where a studio, whatever studio it is, isn't making money. It is just an expenditure as they develop their next product. Both of these studios were in that phase. And apparently, Microsoft was not willing to weather that non-profitable period now that they've absorbed all of these new operating expenses via the Activision Blizzard acquisition.
Yeah, and I guess that might actually, right, that's probably a big factor in it, is they just spent a lot of money to buy Blizzard. Like, a lot. How many Bethesdas did we determine it was?
Lots of Bethesdas, yeah. that was the running gag for years of how many Bethesdas was this purchase.
I can't remember how many Bethesdas we figured out it was, but it was a lot of Bethesdas versus what they paid to purchase Bethesda. But now all of that money, right, is tied up in that purchase. And when they go and spend money in that way, right, they have to make it up somewhere, and it can't be something like, oh, well, the shareholders will just take a little less and the CEO will be paid less. Right?
God forbid.
Something that might make sense, but we can't do that. So we just, get rid of people. One of the other things I was reading is them saying that part of the problem is these studios under Bethesda are like, we're missing people already, like important people that have, left to go do other things or whatever. So the structure was no longer there. And this is the thing about the gaming industry as well. At this point, I wonder if left actually means they left of their own volition, or if they left because things were not great. And well, at least them being, higher level people, they knew they could get something somewhere else.
Yeah, it's very weird. So there's a bunch of reporting coming out. Obviously Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg and some other well-known reports coming out saying various just like very confusing things, right? Like we have on one side of things, we have Jill Braff from Zenimax during a town hall meeting on Wednesday was saying that, hey, we need to move forward with a lean central team. We had so many various projects and teams in the works. I think we were about to topple over. Then you have statements kind of contrary to that saying, hey, a lot of these things not doing well or things not making it to full have understaffed. It's because we're understaffed. But then Bloomberg, Jason Schreier reports, Troy, that, hey, this week Xbox started offering voluntary severance agreements to producers, QA testers, and other staff at ZeniMax, which it purchased just 4 years ago, according to people inside the company. Now, Xbox declined to comment on that reporting, so read that how you will. Typically, that's like a non-confirmation confirmation, right? And then you have people going out and saying, hey, we need titles that are smaller and win awards. I think that was Matt Booty praising HiFi Rush. I'll get that just to make sure I get the attribution there correctly. Yeah, it was Matt Booty. We need smaller games that give us prestige and awards. He said that in internal remarks, according to The Verge, the day after you closed Tango, who had an indie darling mega hit in HiFi Rush. Is this an indictment on Game Pass and its viability as far as long term? I don't know. We know those numbers aren't quite where Microsoft has envisioned them to be by now. We've always speculated here and on other shows, Troy, that, yeah, I mean, that Game Pass is great for the consumer in most regards, but is it really long-term viable for non-big AAA or Microsoft-owned studios? Here's a Microsoft-owned studio that isn't making it because presumably it's not making enough money and didn't make enough money, and they can't afford to absorb operating costs to wait for the next one.
And you keep cutting the people, and like the report that was like, hey, we're too understaffed to produce the quality stuff we want to produce. You've got to reach that point with all these layoffs. Like you've got to be understaffed at some point. There's not infinite people working for you. Yeah, some of you are huge conglomerates with like thousands and thousands of people working for you. But with all these layoffs, you've got to reach a point where, how are you going to produce games if you just keep closing studios and letting people go?
Yeah. Q on Bloomberg, while there's no indication that Xbox plans to ditch the Game Pass model, there are hints that its big bets have not paid off. During the most recent quarter, sales of Xbox content and services were up 62%, but as Nico Partners analyst Daniel Ahmad pointed out last month, the growth was entirely due to the acquisition of Activision Blizzard. And on social media, he noted that without sales from that deal, Xbox gaming revenue would have been down approximately 5% year over year, with no software and services growth and sharp hardware revenue decline. Are we just doomed? Like, is gaming doomed? I've seen people compare things to like the North American video game market crash in the 80s, which, by the way, can we all acknowledge that that was very a North American thing? That was not like a global thing. There were ripple effects, sure, but are we headed towards that kind of, we've expanded too far, now we constrict? Is it mismanagement at high levels? Is it greed at high levels? Is it a combination of A, B, C, and D? What is going on with gaming?
I think, and I think we've seen this for a long time on a smaller scale. So on the Microsoft thing, on this particularly Game Pass, like Tori made, said they feel guilty about getting free games on the Epic Games Store, and is it profitable? And the answer is kind of, for the developers, yes, because Epic is paying those people to put their games on there for free, versus a lot of these games that Microsoft is putting on Game Pass is basically their own games, and they went and spent a bunch of money to buy companies to have the games to put on Game Pass. I mean, they do have games from other people, but a lot of their games are their games that they're giving away for free, which kind of makes sense if you really, really want to sell people on the Game Pass thing, if Game Pass were making you a ton of money, but apparently is not. Like, they were wanting to build their own ecosystem, and a lot of it was wanting to build the ecosystem for the console specifically, like to encourage people to buy the console, although consoles have always been more or less a loss leader, right? But like, I think so much of it is like, take CCP games as an example, right? They have always done very well with EVE Online. And it's remained fairly profitable. They keep their current player base and all of that. But every time they try to expand into something else, they just fall flat on their face, because they're stretching themselves way too far. They'll go buy another company like they did with White Wolf, but then they get, they're still spread too thin on what they're doing, and then they sell off White Wolf and they come back to just doing EVE, and they're fine. But now, like, we have the way companies are working, it's not even like this one company buys up this one company and then gets rid of it. It's like all of these companies that are doing these mass layoffs are just buying and buying and buying. And we watched it, we've watched it for years with EA and Activision. EA being, I think, a bit of the bigger culprit on the, going and buying a company and then basically, like hollowing it out from the inside out and then, it's gone. It's dead. No more. So it's not like this is new, but it's on a larger scale because the companies, the publishers, the EA, the Microsoft, they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and buying up more and more of the companies underneath them. And Embracer being another one, right? We have now so many what are they called? The companies that aren't actually in gaming or entertainment, but just buy the companies. What is the word?
Not sure what you're looking for.
I mean, basically what Embracer is, right? Embracer is not a game development company.
No, it's an investment. It's an investment house.
Yeah, right. Investment firms, right? So they go and buy all of this stuff and then they're like people off. And it's I think it's really a case of these companies are getting far too big and trying to put out the least they can to make the most they can, and in the end where a lot of the games that might have done well if they had just figured out a way for the company who's making this game to just make this game and care for this game, and it might have I mean, it's not guaranteed, but I think they would have a better chance of survival that way than they do being part of a massive company that's just like, well, that's tiny, we don't really care about it, let's fire all the people and hire some AI to do something else.
On the other side, Take-Two Interactive, Grand Theft Auto, they're closing down Ali and Kerbal Space Program Studios. So Roll 7 and Intercept Games, they're going away too. Take-Two kind of this Kerbal Space Program 2 and how that all played out is a discussion for another time on that studio being created to make that game and then forced to push it out early, leading to bad early access stuff. There's a whole mess behind that we just won't get into here. But Take-Two closing them down. Ali Skating Games, or Roll 7, developer of Ali, and Rollerdrome. Rollerdrome is such a fun game. And Chad is pointing out, hey, AAA is a mess, indie's, doing well. Really? Because HiFi Rush, I would count as an indie title. Rollerdrome, I would count as... Rollerdrome won a freaking BAFTA.
But the problem is it may be an indie title, but it's an indie title
owned by AAA. Yeah, fair.
Owned by a AAA company. Whereas if it's just a straight indie title and like they're doing what they do, they work with the team that they have, and without the publishers and without the big companies and stuff like that, you don't have the marketing and everything that these other games have, right? But then you end up with the AAA games that do have a ton of marketing and people to do the jobs and everything else, and they're failures anyway because the games suck.
Yeah.
And these companies don't answer to their customers anymore. They haven't for a long time. They answer to their shareholders, and that's part of the problem. It's not even about are you profitable, it's about how profitable are you.
Yeah.
And you've got games that aren't profitable, but the ones that are profitable, some of them it doesn't matter because they didn't make enough money.
They didn't make enough money to weather their own storm between titles, which a gaming company has to. A movie company has to. Like, you're talking about products that take years to develop. Small game, maybe a year or two. Bigger game, 2 to 5 years. Humongous games, 8 years. Whatever. There is a timeline between those products, and you need to be able to weather those storms. And Microsoft killed so much goodwill this week. And they were already chipping away at it all year, but they killed so much goodwill this week that it's just not even funny. Like, there are people showing clips of back when they acquired Lionhead and that all went down, and lessons they learned that clearly they didn't learn because they're doing the same thing now. They're making stupid statements. Q's writing up a piece now about one of their reps in an interview being specifically asked, like, hey, this HiFi Rush was a success, an award-winning game. shouldn't that be enough to keep that studio open? And the question is totally dodged, like absolutely dodged. Mike Ybarra, by the way, who we brought up on the show a few weeks ago on the whole topic of game devs being tipped, right? Mike Ybarra chimed in as this was happening in real time, and I quote tweeted it from the MMOBomb account. I just didn't care at that point. It was like this long thing about how much Phil Spencer must be hurting. He knows Phil Spencer or has met Phil Spencer. I don't know the extent of their relationship. I don't want to imply a stronger relationship than there is. So they know each other. And how much Phil must be hurting by these decisions and everything. And I was like, you son of a bitch. Shut up. Shut up. The day this is all going down, Phil's, while what you're saying might be 100% true, it may not. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Nobody should give a flying rat's ass about how Phil Spencer might emotionally feel about having made these decisions that he made. Nobody. He'll be fine. He'll be totally fine. There are people that don't know where their next meal is coming from 2 months from now after a little severance that they're given runs out. At this exact moment. Fuck you. I was like, how did this guy run Blizzard? Anyway.
How did he run Blizzard? Well, that's why Blizzard's in the state it's in.
Well, and then Helldivers. And Sony and Helldivers were determined to set themselves on fire the last week, too.
But I mean, remember, we did want Microsoft to buy Blizzard, but it was only because Blizzard was in such a state on its own that somebody needed to step in, and Microsoft was really the only freaking option.
Yeah, and Microsoft just seems to be like putting a bunch of money in the future and then not waiting for that to actually pan out. They're like panicking and pulling back on it. Like, if you invest in your future, you have to invest in your future and be willing to take that hit.
It's the future, not today.
And then the Helldivers 2 thing, just, oh my God. Right? It was dumb to try and add the PSN thing later, and I know there was a grace period and all that. So it was bullshit. Then it got delisted from like 170 countries while it was all happening. And then Sony was like, oh my God, we're getting review bombed. They don't care about that, by the way, Detroit.
I had to tell somebody that because he was talking like about, how gamers came together and made them make this change. And I was like, I hate to tell you that this only happened because Steam was doing something about it, because they did not want to get caught in the middle of it. If Valve hadn't stepped in and started removing those games, right? And obviously the reason they were doing it is because a lot of those countries are European and Europe has laws.
Yeah, certain countries that you can't have a PSN account in, all of a sudden the game got delisted from those countries for this new PSN requirement, and then Valve was like, oh shit, and they started issuing refunds. You couldn't do it through the automated thing, right? The automated thing was still catching you and saying you've played for more than 2 hours, you can't get a refund. But if you got through and talked to somebody, they were issuing refunds for people that had dozens, if not hundreds of hours in the game, because of this new requirement that they weren't going to be able to satisfy because the PSN network wasn't in there. That is why Sony backtracked. Yeah. That's why Sony backtracked.
But it wasn't. It's hard to be sure if Valve was doing it because it was the right thing to do, or if Valve was just doing it so that they didn't get in trouble with all of those various governments.
It's probably a little column A and a little column B on that one.
But at the end of the day, Sony reversed because Valve was giving back money.
Yep.
And it was hurting their bottom line, and that's all they care about.
Here's the interesting thing. While gamers did get a win on that one, Troy, it is important to watch because the game is still currently delisted from over like 170 countries. It is still delisted as far as being able to purchase it now. While those people that own it...
That was not an insignificant amount of countries.
Yeah. While it is not, the people that own it in that country won't have to do PSN because Sony backtracked that, they have not relisted that game, right? And Sony has more coming in this vein. Ghost of Tsushima clarified that, hey, you are going to have a PSN account for our game for multiplayer, but we're not going to require it for single player. So, like, it's forcing other companies to have to dive in and make comments and give this type of information. It just seems like such a mess right now. Such a mess.
It's funny because somebody posted something else in my FC chat about I don't remember which issue, but something else EA is doing that's pissed people off. I was like, and they directed it at somebody else, and they were like, "Oh, this is going to make so and so mad." I was like, people are always mad when you mention EA because if we actually hear something about them, it's going to be something bad.
Yeah,
right? It's never anything good, right? But then they were like, "Oh, well." And my reply to somebody else in the thread was, I have not bought an EA game in over a decade. The last EA game that I didn't actually buy it, my roommate at the time bought it for me as birthday present, was Alice Madness Returns, right? That was 2011.
Holy shit. Yeah, that's a
2011.
lifetime ago.
Yeah, that was the last EA game I bought. I think the last Activision games that I spent money on were like Guitar Hero or something like that.
Getting a little musically inclined.
Right. So I haven't bought, and it occurred to me the only big studio that I spend money with now is Square Enix.
Yeah, who just announced that, hey, yeah, we're going to be canceling a lot of stuff and taking about a 200 million expected hit.
If it weren't for XIV, I wouldn't be spending money with them either.
Other projects in the whole Microsoft stuff too, Troy, were canceled, right? Like not just these studios closing, but apparently there were pitches for like a Tony Hawk remaster of 3 and 4. The Tony Hawk remaster of 1 and 2 did very well. No. It's just like, hey, we got to focus on Call of Duty. Ugh.
Yeah. Gotta get that Call of Duty out every year and make sure that all the bros get their game. What can you say? It sells. It sells.
Well, and this is the thing, though, right? Because it's still continuing Activision and its philosophy forever. Let's just keep putting this out until somebody people finally get sick of it. Like literally, that was Kotick told everybody back in the day that was what they were going to do with Guitar Hero. We're just going to keep throwing it out there until you guys can't stand it anymore. And it's not like they're secretive about it. It's just, and yeah, shooters are a very popular genre. I don't know that anybody will ever get sick, completely sick of them because that's the only thing some people play.
Yeah. And more power to you. Like, that's totally fine. I'm not, yucking anybody's yum, saying, Call of Duty.
It's totally fine.
Yeah.
That, if a shooter is what you want to play it. Because, I would play more shooters if they didn't make me sick. Right? But...
but Call of Duty is low effort.
That's kind of the thing, right? Like, there's a lot of these games that you're spending money on every year that they're just like, Here's another of the same.
Yeah, every EA Sports title every year is like so minor incremental improvements anymore. If there's even improvements at all. Some years it's just like, wait, what? There's 4 things from last year missing here and nothing new is added. What happened? I don't know. What is going on in gaming? What's the answer? What's the solution? I'm going to ask you that when we get back to our question of the week. Remember, question of the week and Weekly Bomb, such an important part of the show. If you're watching on YouTube or over on mmorpg, we appreciate it. That's the site that pays the bills. Go visit it, see an ad or two on your way. That'd be great. And in the comments, leave your Weekly Bombs and question of the week answers. Let's talk about a few things coming and going in the world of gaming. So this one I'm kind of sad to see, although I'm not entirely surprised. Most smaller things that get started on Kickstarter and stuff like that, have a low percentage chance. But I was always interested in the Twin Drums Afro Fantasy Wagadu Chronicles, not just in its MMORPG aspirations, but also in some tabletop stuff. I know Troy's been watching some of that. It's like 7th era D&D compatible books and things that they've had there. Yeah, that project is now canceled. Unfortunately, just not enough money. In fact, a lot of the physical rewards that were promised in the Kickstarter, Troy, aren't going to make it out. They did send out some PDF versions of some of their final deliverables, like the setting book, the guide for it, the PDF art book, stuff like that. Backers should have those in your emails, but the MMORPG is no more. It's not going to be coming out, and a lot of those physical things promised aren't going to make it either.
Here's your occasional reminder that Kickstarter is not a pre-order. Kickstarter is an investment, and don't spend money on Kickstarter unless you're willing to never see anything from it.
It's kind of like lending money to a friend, right? You don't you don't lend money to a friend that you can't afford to just never have paid back.
Yep.
This one, I am sad about this one. This had a lot of interest and appeal to me, being something wildly different aesthetically, narratively from the MMO tropes out there right now. So it is sad to see that one's not going to come to fruition. We wish the team there, obviously, the best of luck. We also have something coming. Challenger Games has announced, Troy, for you, the second wave early access. Finally,
It was just for Troy?
No, not just for Troy. Not just for Troy. On May 31st, you'll get to try out the game's content, 17 characters, 3 different game modes, other players, AI monsters, the whole deal. I know, Troy, you've been eagerly watching this one.
Oh yeah, the waifu shooter. I can't freaking wait.
I know. Hey, I figured, it's just Marvel Rivals, right? With some waifu instead of Marvel characters, right? Right.
Yeah,
Troy wants
same
this.
thing.
Q, are you going to check this out?
No, I already have too many wife and husband games.
Well, yeah, you do play Genshin. So,
and Honkai.
Yeah, I really think just Genshin's enough. Like, just the number of characters in Genshin.
I have a wide variety of husbands in Honkai.
Well, if you want to check it out, that one is coming. But what is not coming is Troy, Project Kestrel from Remedy Entertainment. What the hell's going on here?
Yeah, they've canceled Project Kestrel, and
formerly Project Vanguard.
Yeah, after switching it to a premium business model from a free-to-play model, and they renamed it to Kestrel, and then decided that well, we're not gonna do this anymore. They said that they did show early promise, but the project was still in its early concept stage. Other projects have advanced well and are moving to the next stages of development. So we've got Condor now. Hopefully everybody's sort of focused on that and moving that project forward, which should be that's the one that's the Control multiplayer, right? Or we believe it to be the Control multiplayer.
Yeah, the one that was canceled is not the Control multiplayer game. And I don't know if Condor is the name for that one.
I don't remember now.
Yeah, I don't
whether that was the Control one or not, or the one that we believe to be the Control one.
Yeah, it is Condor. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm kind of happy that we're at least still so far getting that. Q, a game that has been delayed multiple times and could not get certifications, finally appears ready to launch? ?
I'd actually forgotten about this after I wrote it. Oh God, how many changes has this game been through? But yeah, XDefiant will launch unless something weird happens within the next 11 days. It'll launch on the 21st, and it'll be on more or less everything, obviously not Switch, but
well,
PC,
interestingly,
Xbox.
Yeah, interestingly though, if you were kind of hoping to get a PS4 or an Xbox One edition of this game, that has been axed. This will just be PC, PS5, and Xbox Series S and X.
You know what the funniest thing about this is? By the time developers are like, yeah, we're not making for your console anymore, the console developers are about to be ready to announce that there's going to be a new console coming out.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo's expected to show off the Switch successor early next year. They were specifically saying it will not be in our next Direct. Look for it early next year. So if Nintendo's moving on, it's time. We already have like the pro versions of the PS5 and stuff too, so we're getting there already. Would it be interesting to see if Xbox even makes a console at this point?
Yeah, but see, it's weird, right? Because it seems like with the changes they're making and making it so all of their, it'll be available everywhere, that they would just step out of the console stuff because it doesn't really make them money anyway. But the last Phil Spencer said about it was, oh yeah, we're not giving up on the Xbox.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe you should.
Maybe that's the idea. Give up on the Xbox and make games, and then just distribute your games to all the other platforms. Like just all the other platforms.
V-Rising has officially launched and added its Castlevania crossover. And man, it's actually really good. It's really good. Like there is a lot
I've been meaning to jump back into that.
Yeah. I sent you a code for the DLC. I sent you a code for the game too, but I think you already have the game. So please confirm if that code is still valid. By the way, if you're watching this and it's not Monday yet, Monday the 13th, you still have a chance to head over to mmorpg.com. We're giving away 100 keys for V-Rising. Head on over to mmorpg.com, look up the V-Rising giveaway, and enter for your chance to win. That'll be Monday the 13th when we pull the 100 winners, so you still have this weekend to go ahead and enter and try and take on Giga Chad Dracula. He's very defined cheekbones, that Dracula. Very defined cheekbones. It's very, very good. So much stuff added. And then just one or two little quick hits I just want to get your guys' take on before we slide over and do the weekly bombs. I actually think this is a really good maneuver for a company that hasn't been making good maneuvers all that much lately. Bungie, Troy, is saying, hey, you know what? As we head into the expansion and everything, you know what? Why don't we just go ahead and open up those expansions for everybody to play? So Shadowkeep, Beyond Light, and the Witch Queen, there's a free access period for all of those running through June 3rd. So you have basically a month if you want to play through all of those. There's a little bonus if you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber, because you'll get Lightfall, the most recent expansion, as part of the PS Plus membership this month as well. So you can literally grab all of them over there. Now, you'll lose the access to the other three after June 30th. It's a free period, but you can go through, get all your loot and stuff like that. I think it's a fantastic idea. They've also dropped, we just put up an article today, prismatic videos, 3 new PvP maps. I'm really hoping that this latest, the newest expansion can help them along, because this is another company that we've been watching, Troy, as you're in trouble. Sony's got its eyes on you. You're in trouble. I like this move. How well it'll help, I don't know. We'll see, but I like this move.
Opportunity for some folks to get maybe back into the game who don't have the DLCs, or some new players kind of get caught up on some story and see what's going on in the game, to hopefully get interested in buying the newest expansion and moving forward with the game. So, anything that can draw players in and get them caught up and get them ready to jump into what is make or break, maybe not, but a very important, undoubtedly, expansion for the game.
I think it is make or break. I really think it is make or break. I don't know how you feel, Q, but
I'm wondering, like sitting here wondering. So, right, the free month is a good idea. I do kind of wonder how many people that play the game don't already have the expansions, but at the same time, I'm sitting here thinking, right, like say when Final Fantasy gets ready to launch its new expansion, right, like they just did, they're like, okay, so all of the previous expansions are now available as one package at a very reduced cost over what you would pay buying each one of them separately, right? If you had bought each of them over time. And I'm wondering, like, I have not gone and looked at Destiny 2, how they set theirs up, but if they don't have theirs set up that way, it seems like it would make sense to set it up that way to get people caught up and in, because even if you get people into the game for free for the month, right, they probably won't necessarily get through all the content in a month if like they just started playing or whatever. And now, right, the month ends, they haven't completed everything. There's a new expansion coming out, and they're looking at the purchase prices for all of the expansions and going, nah.
Yeah, so looking through here, they do have Destiny 2, the Legacy Collection on Steam for $59.99. And that gives you the Witch Queen, Beyond Light, and Shadowkeep. So the 3 expansions that they have made free here for everybody. Obviously, Lightfall and PlayStation doesn't count.
Right.
But that is sold as DLC that requires the base game to play. So $70 will get you all of those. The base game, however, is free to play, right? So it doesn't cost you anything. So $60, you can pick up those 3 expansions. And then obviously you would have to buy Lightfall and the Final Shape if you want that. Lightfall currently by itself is $30. And Final Shape pre-order base edition is $50. I just wish they would just follow the Guild Wars 2 model, Troy.
Yeah, they would be.
I mean, Guild for the by the time Guild Wars drops their recent expansion, their last one's like you could do a little dance for them and they'll give you a copy.
Please play our older content.
Yeah,
so
they're made like
content.
Not long after the newest expansion. The other ones always go into some like cheap bundle for like 60 days. I just wish they would do that.
Well, and that's what happens with XIVs too, right? Because I just had to rebuy everything for the PlayStation.
Right.
And so, I bought ARR through Endwalker for like $30.
Yeah.
Right. Because they were like, all right, so now this is coming out and the pre-purchase is up. So all of this is half price.
Yeah. Guild Wars 2 has a bundle with Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire for $30 and then End of Dragons on top of that. Yeah. Secret City.
And that's not even on sale.
It's not. They absolutely do run sales. Wait for a sale. You'll catch like all 3 or 4 of them at huge discounted prices. The Joker being added to Multiversus. Why am I telling you this? Because yes, it is voiced by Mark Hamill. Yes. And what's very sad is that Batman, who is already in the game, was voiced by the late, great Kevin Conroy. So we get Kevin Conroy's Batman and Mark Hamill's Joker back together again for all of us Batman the Animated Series fanatics.
I bet you that's the reason Hamill did it, because he said a pretty good while ago that he was, other than wanting
Well, I think this was already recorded.
Joke.
Remember, like, Multiversus had this cycle of, disappearing.
Yeah, but I mean, it was forever ago. It was at one point, it's like the only reason he's still doing the Joker for anything is because he wanted to do the Killing Joke, and that was it.
Yeah.
Like that was the only way you were going to get him to come back. So he came back and did the Killing Joke, and then it was kind of like, all right, time to retire the Joker, but
love to see it. Let's go do the weekly bombs. Troy, you're up.
A-bomb to Microsoft Xbox.
Tori the chicken giving that same A-bomb in chat.
Get your house in order. God forbid we concentrate on the games and making the customers happy and making money because the customers are happy.
No. Tazib saying dub-bomb to Nintendo for being Nintendo.
Nintendo's just over there living its best life.
Go ahead, Q. What do you got?
I'm going to give an A-bomb to having to redo all my freaking hotbars to the cross hotbars next week. Oh my God, the time and effort.
It gets fun. I'm going to give a dub-bomb to Mutant Football League getting a sequel. I sent it to Q to write earlier this week, and I was like, hey, write this up, and she was like, "Why are we covering this? Like, it's technically multiplayer."
I swear to God, you make up conversations in your head. You sent it to me and just went, "Yeah, I know this isn't multiplayer." Like I didn't ask anything.
I was like, "Yeah, it's not technically." Well, I mean, there's multiplayer, like you could play against friends. This will be a one shot. We'll just like say it's announced and put it out. We won't cover its updates or anything like that. I was just trying to give them a little love, Q, because I love the old Genesis games. And then I love the story of it, making a comeback with just a slightly different name because they couldn't get the rights off of EA. I love it. Double arm to them getting a sequel. Fantastic news. From the viewers, K Sharp 25 says atomic level A bomb. Oh my. To Helldivers 2 / Sony. You just asked out over 100 countries from giving you money for the game because of a stupid PSN requirement. At least Steam ignored the policy and refunded folks with over 100 hours of playtime anyway. Yeah, and I mean, that has come to a resolution as far as the PSN side goes, but Helldivers 2 team still trying to work with Sony on getting this damn thing relisted. It'll be interesting to see where that portion plays out, because that's the income portion. Go ahead, Q.
Nintendo. A-bomb obviously goes to Sony. Their enforcement of a PSN account may not be too much of an issue for me since I linked mine day one, but the issue is that there are thousands of players living in countries with no access to the BS network. Out of 190 countries where this game was sold, only 65 have access, and let's not forget Sony's fairly eventful history of getting hacked.
Yeah, they're a little bit good at it. Mazdoc's in chat saying, "DeBomb to MMOBomb cast got into a stream." No, thank you. Baron Vagabond saying, "A-bomb to Sony for trying to be greedy. We now know, even if they caved in the end." We say it here all the time, Troy. You saw what they wanted to do. And they're going to do this. They just won't give you that grace period ahead of time that now causes backlash after the fact. If you want to play Ghost of Tsushima multiplayer, you're going to need a PSN account. And they're telling you that up front now. Go ahead, Troy.
YouTube commenter one.
Still one of my favorite names. I don't know why. I just love that name.
I knew you were going to say that. You love that every time. Giving a dub bomb to the finals. Finally got around to playing it with a few friends after ignoring it for months since I assumed it was just another shooter like Apex that forced you to play with others and just not to be enjoyable experience overall. Turns out having match-made games that last at most 15 minutes at a time would do wonders to make your competitive shooters more fun. Also helps that I can have a cute cat on my shoulder while I'm torching people as a giant crash dummy.
That is a sentence I never thought I'd read.
I don't know why you're surprised.
Yeah, I don't know. Misfit Rain says, "DeBomb, I mentioned on episode 509 that 7 Days to Die has been in alpha for over 10 years. Well, fuck beta, going straight to 1.0 this year. I guess they did have 10 plus years to test it." Congratulations on your pending release. Go ahead, Q.
Corey V, to be fair, with Blue Protocol, it being locked to Japan only means that it will never do that well. Don't know why Bandai thought it would do well if it's region locked. Once it drops outside of Japan, I could see it doing much better.
No doubt. Yeah, I mean, launching in one region, you're only going to be as successful as you can. But the point I think we were making, and maybe it got muddled, I apologize, is that it's not doing as well as they expected it to do
for Japan.
In Japan. Like they had forecasted numbers on, okay, this is what it should do in Japan, and it is not meeting those, which is a different ball game. Go ahead, Troy.
Terminus Tartaros, A-bomb to Helldivers 2. I was looking forward to buying and playing this game. Now I will not do that unless they revert that decision, which they did. And even
yes,
then,
but are you in a country where you can buy it? I don't know. Well, you'll have to let us know.
And even then, I was about to play it with my buddy, even if they revert the change, and he will not buy it regardless. I may not either. It may be too late either way.
It is definitely a game that is so much more fun playing with friends. You can have a lot of fun matchmaking with strangers, but friends, yes. Question of the week: what's on the horizon last week that you're looking forward to? Are you still looking forward to Blue Protocol, Throne of Liberty? What are you following? What may have fallen off of your radar? Nintendo says, question of the week, there are a few games that I have on my radar. Wuthering Waves, Blue Protocol, Mecha Break. We just put up Mecha Break news this past week. But most importantly, a game I thought was terrible and just a dumb idea, but ended up being fun and really clicked with me. Turns out I'm also excellent at it, considering I managed to make it to the top 100 of the world. Project CW. I do have games like Once Human and The First Descendant on the radar, but neither really excites me. In the case of The First Descendant, it is a Nexon game after all. I am really looking forward to Once Human and The First Descendant. Absolutely with you on that one. What the hell is Project CW? I actually have to look. Oh, is that the wargaming thing now that I think about that? Yeah. Go ahead, Q.
K-Sharp 25. 2 games on the horizon that I'm looking cautiously forward to proves how much of a glutton for punishment I am and how gullible I can be are ArcAge 2, Hoping Without a Labor System, and Star Wars Outlaws.
Well, good luck on that Star Wars Outlaws, because that's probably the one you have a better chance at, K-Sharp. I just can't imagine ArcAge 2 not being a fucking disaster. Go ahead, Troy. Maybe they'll prove me wrong, but
I doubt it. Dest 19, question of the week. All the No Man's Skies free updates will hopefully keep getting for a while longer. Recently, they've introduced ship customization for the fighter, hauler, and explorer types. Hoping we'll see solar type customization in the future. Oh, and they're making a new multiplayer fantasy sandbox too, Light No Fire.
Yeah, I mean, we just saw that revealed, within the last year, and then it was like, okay, we got to go away because we're just telling you about something that's not anywhere close, but certainly one I'm watching too. Takal2399 says, still looking forward to Blue Protocol. Just looks like a good change of pace MMO to play, whenever it actually comes out over here, whenever I'm all caught up on the given Final Fantasy 14 patch. Mazdoc's in chat looking forward to PAX Day. I know a lot of people are looking forward to that, including myself. Go ahead, Q.
User MJ4, etc.
Yeah, that etc. is because I literally just had the user name that if you did not change your YouTube name, it just dumped one on you. It was just a bunch of numbers and letters. You know who you are.
Bellatores and hopefully Light No Fire.
There's another Light No Fire. Go ahead, Troy.
YouTube commenter 1, still waiting on Core Punk to play eventually. Yes, definitely much so. I have a partial interest in War Within and Dawn Trail because both 14 and WoW always manage to drag me into a sub for about a month each time before I get bored of each and end up canceling the sub, uninstalling them anyways. Besides those, I'm not really keeping up with anything new in the MMO-like games. Also somewhat interested in checking out Jump Ship eventually, since I'm a sucker for games under $20 to play with friends and have a good time doing stupid things in co-op.
Yeah, that's like right in my wheelhouse too. Nintendo actually in chat, you made it. Yes, we just read your bomb and weekly feedback, or weekly question of the week answer actually. But thanks for hitting chat up. Metallica fan 1442 says, I don't think it's an MMORPG, but I'm looking forward to Once Human. Looks a bit like Division mixed with The Secret World. I'm really looking forward to Once Human as well, which is a little weird for me because it is a little more leaning to the survival side. And, I'm not generally like a long-time survival game player, but like the conspiracy stuff and the unlocking secrets, yeah. I personally don't know if I would call it an MMO until I get my hands on it and see exactly how, but they do have it tagged, Metallica fan, on Steam with the MMO label. So take that for, watch whatever it was, 10 episodes back when we had that discussion. Go ahead, Q.
Terminus Tartaros. The game I'm looking most forward to is naturally Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm a big Monster Hunter fan, and there's no further explanation needed.
Yeah, enough said. Get in there and get out. Thanks for commenting. Go ahead, Troy.
Misfit Rain says, I just looked more into this Once Human game, and it is now one of my top games I'm looking forward to playing, giving me a Division 2 Secret World vibe. Okay,
so now we've seen it. Two different people mix Division 2 and Secret World when describing Once Human. That's Metallica fan and Misfit Rain both coming in with the Division mix with Secret World vibe. We'll see how it all pans out. Definitely one I'm looking forward to. Question of the week this week. Is gaming fucking doomed? Okay, hold on. Let me rephrase. Let me rephrase. I mean, that may sound a little bit facetious, but seriously, what is wrong with the gaming industry right now? And how do you fix it? How do you fix it? Is it just mismanagement at the top levels? Is it just corporate greed? Is it what is wrong with gaming right now, and how do you fix it? Let us know your opinion on the good and bad in gaming down below for the question of the week. Don't forget your weekly bombs. Dub bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad in the world of gaming or just life in general. And if you have a question for the panel, by all means, throw it down there. We like random questions, whether gaming related or not. I'll bring them to the show and we'll answer them. Until the next time, Troy, where can everybody find you?
Hey, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, it's all Noob Fridge.
Cute.
Miscreation on Blue Sky.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me right there at magicman1, but more importantly, follow at mmobomb, and you'll know every time we're going live with a podcast, a stream, a giveaway, a first look video, an interview, articles, and more. Stay safe. We'll see you on the servers. Later.